And the affirmation for that theme was, I allow space for the unknown and the unknowable. I allow space for the unknown and the unknowable. And February's theme, my topic today, is possibility. The affirmation is, imagination swings wide the gate of possibility. Imagination swings wide the gate of possibility. Let's say that one together.
Imagination swings wide the gate of possibilities.
All right. That's expansive. And I love divine order. I love that last night in my email inbox came a message. It's a regular one I subscribe to. And you know, I don't always open it right away. I say, put it in that file and I'll read it as soon as I have time, right? And that file gets bigger and bigger. But for some reason I was tempted or inspired to click on it. And it was related to both of those themes, the mystery and the possibility. So I love that. It's from a metaphysical teacher named Shelley Young. And here's what she said. Who are you without your fear? Without your wounds? Without your old stories of lack and struggle? This is what you are in the process of discovering right now. The spaciousness or sensation of not knowing anything that many of you are experiencing is allowing you to get in touch with the deeper truth of who you truly are, your divine essence. How many of us, when we feel like, I don't know anything, I've forgotten everything, I used to know it, but I don't know it anymore, and we kind of think, that's not so good, right? But no, that's spaciousness or sensation of not knowing anything allows us to get in touch with our true divine essence. Yay! She goes on to say, your creator self operates from a perpetual blank slate of possibility. Perpetual blank slate of possibility. An empowered being, meaning your creator self, that leads through presence, preference, and joyful expansion. If you're in the space of not knowing, it is an indicator of how far you have come and how well you have prepared yourself for this next exciting and unprecedented phase of your incarnation. Wow, what a good space that is. These are truly wondrous times, because when you are working from the empowered space that is beyond any self-imposed limitations, the most amazing things become possible. Yay, we're right in the middle of it, aren't we? All kinds of wonderful possibilities. Yes, imagination does swing wide the gates of possibilities. And our divine power of imagination makes more room, more space in our lives for possibility. And it opens up to infinite possibilities forever and ever and ever. And those who have the courage and the faith to wear the rose-colored glasses, those ultimate optimists, they possess the quality of possibility of thinking. They have that quality. They activate their innate divine power of imagination that empowers them to conceive of, envision, and embody their preferred realities, the ones that they want, the ones that they like. Whatever we can conceive, we can create. What we think about, we bring about. People who embrace possibility thinking are capable of accomplishing tasks that seem impossible to your average person. Because they believe there's always a way. There's always a way, I just might not see it yet. All in good time. And there are a lot of benefits of being a possibility thinker. I know when you are a possibility thinker, you know some of those benefits. First of all, it obviously opens you up to more possibilities, right? And it attracts to you people and resources and ideas and things that bring you even more possibilities or have the ability to assist you in realizing your current possibilities that you know of. And you increase other people's possibilities when you're a possibility thinker. You can dream bigger dreams than most people. You can be extraordinary. You can live an extraordinary life. Possibility thinking gives you energy, and it gives you the inspiration to keep on keeping on, like the Energizer Bunny. And possibilities can become reality when we hold a powerful idea in our mind, when we then use our imagination to think what it would be like, what it would look like, and then when we feel in our body right now, in advance, the joy, the thrill, the gratitude that we know we're going to feel when it actually is manifest for us. So that's the fuel when we can bring that feeling into our body right now, and we can do that simply through imagination. Neville Goddard, a metaphysician who lived in the 20th century, said that imagination is the redeeming power within us, our redeeming power. He said it's equal to Christ consciousness, the awareness of our divine identity by which we pivot away from a limited, human-only perspective, sense of ourself. I'm just humans. No. Through our power of imagination, we conceive of an ideal, a divine idea, that when held in our mind, leads us to experience the ideal as an existing reality and live it, to live accordingly. We have access to infinite possibilities that match our ideal, our divine idea. It's not just one. And Neville Goddard goes on to say the forward-looking power of imagination is something we use most of the time, whether we realize it or not. And for example, we think ahead of a trip or an outing we're going to go on, and we use our imagination to maybe plan it out, to visualize where we might want to go, do things like that. The key is, rather than the trick, let's say the key is to use your imagination consciously with positive intent. People often use their imagination unconsciously. They might be thinking of that trip they're going to go on, and they start worrying a little bit, like, oh, what if I'm not really going to have the money to do everything I want to do? What if I have an accident? Or what if someone steals my credit card while I'm away? Or on and on and on. You've been there, right? That's called the negative what-if game. The negative what-if game. But consciously using our imagination with positive intent, if we were going to go on a trip, we'd start thinking about, the places we want to go, and the fun we could have, and what different routes we could take, or maybe just follow our spirit, not take any route, to see what comes up every day. We'd start playing the positive what-if game, consciously using it that way. And we would add this or something better than I can now imagine, God, because that statement opens us up to infinite possibilities, for sure. And remember what I said a few minutes ago, whatever we can conceive, we can create, what we think about, we bring about. And we know that our imagination at our human level, at the third dimensional level, is limited. It's somewhat limited. We can expand it and expand it and expand it, but it's still somewhat limited. We know to put our attentions out there, ask, and then let go and trust God to handle the details, the how to, believe, and then open up to get something better than we can even now imagine. Receive. Ask, believe, receive. Just as the Bible tells us to do. I don't know how many of you saw the film, the 2001 American film Tortilla Soup, but there's a quote in it that Andy, one of the boyfriends of the main character's daughter, says, I think if you tell life what it has to be, you limit it. But if you let it show you what it wants to be, it will open doors you never knew existed. I love that. I love that. And it said, oh wow, I thought that falls right in line with my vision for 2020 of letting my life unfold. instead of trying to make things happen or specifically saying, I want this, 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 and this, but just letting life unfold every day. And it's kind of like what he says, it's letting life show me what it wants to be for me. And the most amazing doors open for me as I allow myself to be in the flow. And as I allow whatever comes up just to be and not push it away, not resist it. And boy, oh boy, have I been getting some good practice to do this, because it seems like resistance has been coming up right and left for me like never before. I'm saying, who is this person that's resisting everything? But thank goodness, thank God that I know whenever we put a new desire out there, everything unlike it shows up for us, that's in our consciousness anywhere, shows up for us to let it go. Just bless it and let it go. Bless you, the person having that judgment or that resistance. Say, oh, bless me for having this resistance again. Thank you for coming up so I can let you go to fertilize the garden, whatever. And back to Goddard again. He said, in addition to having a forward-looking power, imagination works after the fact. He says we can revise our past. How handy is that, right? I have a few past things I'd like to revise and have. In his book, Awakened Imagination, he said, we don't discard the thing that is unpleasant. That experience we had moments or years ago. We revise it. In revising it, we repeal it. And as we repeal it, it projects itself on the screen of space, bearing witness to the power within us, which is our wonderful human imagination. We can replace an unwanted memory with a wanted one, telling ourselves a revised story until we feel those positive effects in our body. And that makes sense to me, because whatever happened in the past that felt negative to us, felt that way based on our opinion, our judgment of it, our perception of it. And our perception creates our reality. We can re-perceive it, look at it in a different way, from a higher perspective. Say, God, let me see this as you see it. Let me see it from a higher perspective. And use our imagination to create something that feels better, that even feels good to us. And that's how we have just revised our past, which existed nowhere but in our own minds anyway. No longer real, no longer anywhere but in our mind. We can always rewrite our stories because we were the ones that made them up in the first place. And we can use our imagination to tap into that field of infinite possibilities for new stories, You might wonder, well, are we revising reality if I revise our story? Because what happened, happened, right? We're not changing the fact of what happened. That's neutral, actually. The fact of what happened is neutral. So-and-so said so-and-so to me, But what we're changing is how we reacted to it, how we judged it, how we perceived it, how we took it in based on our past conditioning, We forgot what Jesus told us. Don't judge by appearances. We judged by appearance, and we made an assumption, and we came to a conclusion that was false. So we can change that. People can tell themselves a more positive version of a story, perhaps about their adoption, or perhaps about a broken relationship, or perhaps about a job they got fired from. They can change the version of the story. And quite often some of those things happen to us, right? And when they happen, it was the worst thing possible. How am I ever going to get through this? And then 3 years later, we look back on it and say, oh, thank God that happened. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. Just couldn't see it then. Didn't have those rose-colored glasses on. Where are those? Let me get them out again, By vision and by revision, you can enhance the amazing capacity of your imagination. And putting those rose-colored glasses back on, you can imagine brighter possibilities. You can play the positive what-if game. What if this could be the best thing that ever happened to me. It just looks really bad right now. And using your power of faith, then you can trust God to bring you something better than you can now imagine, beyond your imagination. And if something happens that looks so not so good to you, you can again pull out your faith. It's just simply a choice to use faith and say, well, I know that everything works out for good. I know that everything always works out for me. I know that all that happens is for good. It's all God and it's all good. So you don't have to worry about it looking bad. Now, I've been talking about possibilities. Let's talk about so-called impossibility. Sam Ewing, who I'd never heard about before, but I just was Googling some quotes, he's a former baseball player for the Chicago White Sox. He said, nothing is so embarrassing as watching someone do something that you said could not be done. Nothing is so embarrassing. Who has had someone in your life sometime tell you that you couldn't do something you wanted to do? Or that maybe somebody else could do it, but you couldn't do it, you know? Or have you ever told that to anyone, one of your kids or anyone else? Think about that. It's just a judgment and opinion again, isn't it? I don't know if you're like me, but if there's something I want to do, I really want to do. If I halfway want to do it, it doesn't really matter. But if I really want to do it and someone tells me, you can't do that, first thing that pops into my head is, watch me. I don't say it out loud, I just like play it, low key. I say, watch me, And I've collected over the years articles and Facebook posts and everything about what I call models of possibility. People that are doing things, people of all ages that are doing things that some people might think are impossible, or that most people don't have the courage or the whatever faith to do. And I noticed lately, as I'm moving through time, that I'm collecting more stories of people higher up in their years, 80s, 90s, and their hundreds, that are doing amazing things. Like 100-year-old skydiving, and things like that, to inspire me as I move through time and feel a few aches and pains and saying, what if I could do that? And, But my first ever talk here at Unity of Albany, which was in 1991, was about leaps of faith. I had just recently left a job that I'd had, a career. I'd had several jobs in the Department of Education, but 7 years short of full retirement, my spirit would not let me stay there anymore. Said, it's time to go, take that leap of faith. And that decision I made led to my first invitation to speak at a Unity Church, Unity of Tallahassee. And then shortly after that, I did a couple of bungee jumps out in Tallahassee at the fairgrounds before they regulated it to be lower and to, you could no longer have ankle jump, tied by your ankles. You had to have a bigger harness on. But that decision got me my second invitation to speak at a Unity Church. And 28 years later, I'm still speaking at Unity of Church, just something I would have never imagined in my human imagination that I would be doing, because I hated getting up in front of people and being the center of attention and talking. What would I say, So, things lead us that. But I want to share with you how following my inner guidance, how following my spirit, how following my heart made me a model of possibility for others. That wasn't my intent to, be a model of possibility, but a couple of people shared something with me. Some of you have heard the talk of my bungee jump. I've done it twice at this church over the years. I don't have time to do that today. Of course, that's not my talk. But changed my life. It was a spiritual experience that changed my life and helped me face all kinds of fears, and still does in my life today, that I might not have otherwise. I said, if I can bungee jump, I can do this, I can pick up this phone and call this person. But the day I did my first bungee jump, I went to bed, and I was just basking in the good feeling that I had the courage and the faith to do this, and the joy that I felt afterwards. Check, did that. Never imagining I would ever do it again. Well, I woke up the next morning and this thought came into my head. Said, Judy, good for you for doing that yesterday. And you know what? You had your eyes closed. And we miss out on so much joy in our life. Even if we're willing to feel the fear and do it anyway, if we do it with our eyes closed, we miss out on so much more joy. And so guess what? I had to go back and do it the next morning. Again, I went by myself this time. The night before, I'd gone with my son and my son-in-law, who also jumped with me. And so I went out and parked, and I walked up to the fence around the bungee jump area and leaned on it because I wanted to watch a couple people jump. And this young couple, college-age couple, came up and stood next to me. And the girl said to me, she said, "Are you going to do this?" And I said, "Well, actually, I did it last night, and I had my eyes closed. And I woke up this morning thinking, wow, you missed a lot of that joy." So I said, "I had to come back and do it again." And she said, "Oh, wow." I said, "Are you going to do it?" She said, "No way, I am too scared. My boyfriend's going to do it." And so I said, "Well, great, that's awesome." And so then I went up and got in line and did my second jump. And I came back, and of course it was more joyful, and I had my eyes open, and it was really cool. I came back and sat in some bleachers for spectators to watch. And in a few minutes, the couple came over, and she ran up to me, and she said, "Guess what? I did it. And she said, "It was so much fun." She said, "Thank you so much. You inspired me." Well, I never had said any words to encourage her to do it. I didn't try to change her mind. I didn't say, "Oh, you can do it," or, you'd really love it. I didn't do anything. She just, because I shared that I had done it, and she saw me do it again, had the courage and the inspiration to do it. So you just never know when just by being your authentic self, you're going to inspire others. So I was so grateful that she shared that with me. And then about 4 years later, I'd forgotten bungee jump was back there, even though I still used the principles I learned. I ran into a Unity friend that I didn't see very often in the grocery store, and she said, "Judee, remember your bungee jump talk?" And she was there listening to it, and I said, "Yes." And she said, "Well, it was a good talk. I enjoyed it, but I knew I wasn't going to ever do a bungee jump." But she said, "Guess what? My husband and I went on vacation to the Grand Canyon this summer, and he wanted to ride that horse thing down these skinny little trails down to the bottom of the canyon." She said, "I can't do it. I just can't do it." And she said, "But you know what? I thought about your bungee jump." And she said, "I said, this is my bungee jump." And she said she did it and had the most fun, and her husband was so grateful, and they just had the best time of their lives. So you just never know, what your bungee jump will be. Let's see. Where am I now? You too can be a model of possibility for others, and others can be models of possibility for you. For me, the easiest way to be a possibility thinker and to do things that might seem impossible to others or that they might be afraid to do is to believe and live by some of the words of Jesus. In Matthew 19:26 and in Mark 10:27, Jesus said, "With God, all things are possible." With God, all things are possible. And then in Mark 9:23, Jesus said, "If you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes." Wow. That's all I have to know and believe. And we all are, as everything is, an expression of God. There's only one present, right? God, the omnipotent. And we have access to the power that creates worlds, that creates universes. We have access to that power. How could anything be impossible to us? And there are some ways to become more of a possibility thinker. There's some choices you can make. You can decide to let go of focusing on impossibilities. Stop it. Just let go of that. And you can develop the habit of looking for possibilities in every situation. Look on the bright side of everything. Look for the silver linings. Be around possibility thinkers. Dream one size bigger. Dream your dream and then say, "Let me stretch it a little bit farther." Question the status quo. Don't be around people who say, "Well, we're doing it this way because we've always done it this way." Oops. See ya. And then find your own models of possibility to inspire you. They're all over the place. They're all around us. They're in the newspaper, they're in books, they're in Facebook, they're all over. And then I close with words from Thomas Edison, who, when asked about his failures, I think in relation to developing the light bulb, he said, "I have not failed thousands of times. I've successfully found thousands of times that didn't work." And these are his words I leave with you. When you have exhausted all possibilities, you haven't.